Today, Vanuatu really is a paradise in the Pacific. 3,000 years ago, when the first people arrived here, they must have thought they'd arrived in Eden. But it didn't take long for them to leave their mark. Earlier this year, I took you to an important archaeological site in Vanuatu, a cemetery of the first people in the Southwest Pacific. But this is something of a double site. On top of that cemetery, there's the remains of a village. Here you can see where a post hole has been uncovered, the corner of a hut. But it's what's contained within the garbage from that village that has fired the imaginations of archaeologists and paleontologists. This is where the excitement of this site comes into play. This brown layer here is the site of a 2,800-year-old village. And the white stuff you can see in the wall behind me, that's 200 or 300 years of rubbish from the people living here. And by carefully tracking through that rubbish, we can actually see species eaten into extinction. The site is literally littered with food scraps, giving us a good idea of what the original inhabitants ate. This is a pig jaw, one of the animals introduced to the islands some 3,000 years ago.
It was first thought that the Lapita people were moving from island to island, you know, just using up all the marine resources, they're moving to the next island. Here we've got a lot of pig bone early on, so this will quickly establish that they actually did bring pigs with them.
Stuart Hawkins has been taking a closer look at these paleo diets.
Well, they're basically eating, well, they're bringing introduced animals with them, but they're also eating a lot of the local resources. These are quite vulnerable and quite easy to catch, and some of them are quite big and tasty.
It's a pattern that archaeologist Matthew Spriggs has seen before.
People arrive, there's a naive fauna, and there's a massive impact upon these wild resources early on.
Among this abundance of easy prey, what's got everyone excited is the appearance and disappearance of a very strange beast.
Is this tortoise?
Yes, this looks like a tortoise humerus from the upper arm. We think it's a land-bearing turtle from the Meolania genus. And you can see here the strong muscle attachments and here and the curved bone, nature of the bone for bearing weight on land. Sea turtle bones, the bones are all flat for swimming in the water.
One problem at the site is they're only getting bits of this unusual creature. So I've come to the Australian Museum to see some more complete specimens. This is the kind of animal that they're talking about. It's a horned land turtle, or Meolania. Now, this particular one comes from Darling Downs in southern Queensland. They're found throughout Australia and also on some Pacific islands. Now they're found in Vanuatu. This is the skull. You can see the eye here. And what's notable are these two large horns at the back of the skull, which meant that this guy could not pull its head back into its shell for defence. At the other end, this is the tail club. Obviously, these guys could defend themselves. Trevor Worthy from the University of New South Wales has been the paleontologist attached to this archaeological dig.
Basically, I receive a bag full of bones and the archaeologists want me to identify what they are, and usually it's birds because that's my specialty.
So Trevor got quite a surprise when the horned tortoise started turning up in the Vanuatu site.
One of the interesting things about our turtle is the shoulder girdle, which is this element here. So what this tells us is this turtle with a wide angle here is one of the terrestrial turtles, because for the swimming kind of turtles, it's a much more acute angle.
In Vanuatu, these land tortoises grew to a substantial size, up to 1 metre across the shell. Which raises the question, how did a big terrestrial tortoise get across the seas to Vanuatu?
Most people would agree that they came over the sea basically floating, and one turtle has actually walked onto the beach in Tanzania covered in barnacles, and so it was obviously in the sea a fair while.
Back at the site, and it's the distribution of the tortoise bones that is the key to a deeper mystery.
The midden starts here, it develops on top of this old beach, and it built up over about 200 or 300 years, from about 2,800 years ago up to about 2,500. But the tortoises are only found in the bottom 10 centimetres or so, which means that between 2,800 and 2,500, but much closer to 2,800, they're feasting on these tortoises. It's like a carpet of them along the bottom of the midden here, and then after a while, they've eaten them all.
And it's not just the tortoises that suffered this fate.
The size of the shellfish, we've noticed, changes over time. When people first turn up and are using it as a village, the shellfish are much larger size than you would find today. And this was really brought to our attention by the local people working on the site. Say, wow, we never find shellfish this big, when we go out on the reefs today. Also, there's a crocodile that we know is here, a land crocodile, not a marine crocodile. And again, when we find that in sites, it's only right about the 2,800 years ago. After that, they're all gone.
While this is the first case of terrestrial turtles and crocodiles being eaten into extinction, it reflects a pattern seen in birds and other creatures in islands around the world.
You can go from here into Polynesia to New Zealand to Hawaii, and you see the same pattern time and time again. But in each case, within a couple hundred years of people first arriving, these extinctions happened.
More fuel to feed the debate about the nature of extinctions elsewhere.
We could have argued that these giant turtles, this whole family died out due to climate change, but this indicates that at least this branch of the family survived into the very recent past and was a casualty of humans.
And you can call me morbidly obsessed, but among all the questions that this amazing site answers, there's one thing I'll never know. What did they taste like?